Here's a rich guy who decides to sell all his stuff and go live in poverty. Just to be clear, this is not some random dude off the street. This guy is a major player, a force to be reckoned with. We're talking Maxwell Sinclair, a name that resided on the lips of almost every business mogul, socialite, and celebrity across the United States. His empire spanned industries from tech and real estate to hospitality and entertainment. He had a knack for sniffing out opportunities before anyone else, turning every venture he touched into gold. But here's the twist. Despite his staggering wealth, we're talking billions, Maxwell remained a man of mystery. You rarely saw him at industry events. He kept a low profile, choosing the sidelines. His social media posts showed glimpses of luxury, flashes of a private jet here, a yacht shop there. But the face behind those posts was often hidden in shadows or obscured by carefully curated angles. People knew of his existence, respected him, feared him even. But when it came to his personal life, his hobbies, his likes, his dislikes, there was a wall, a thick impenetrable wall around his heart. The media tried to breach it. The gossips failed. Even his peers, they tried to chip away at it, but Maxwell remained an enigma. His empire expanded, his wealth grew, but he stayed distant, detached, almost robotic in his dealings. Some whispered that he had no heart. Others claimed he was incapable of emotions. But the truth was far more complex, far more heartbreaking than anyone could have imagined. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across New York City, Maxwell found himself alone in his penthouse suite. The sprawling apartment was a testament to his wealth, every inch reflecting sophistication and power. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of the city, but Maxwell was lost in thought, staring into the twinkling lights as if seeking an answer in their distant glow. He was alone, surrounded by luxury, yet he felt a profound emptiness gnawing at his soul. He could have anyone he wanted, but his heart ached for something more, something real, something genuine. Fame, the fortune, the adoration, it all felt like an elaborate facade. A gilded cage where he was the solitary prisoner. He questioned the meaning of his existence, the purpose of his relentless pursuit of success. What was he striving for? What was he running from? These questions echoed in the cavernous space of his heart, unanswered, leaving him restless, disillusioned. As he stood there contemplating the vastness of his solitude, a thought struck him, audacious, unconventional, almost insane. What if he could live a life without his wealth, just for a while? What if he could experience love, real love, as an ordinary man, without the weight of his fortune dictating every interaction, every word, every glance? It was a radical idea, born out of desperation, a desire for authenticity. And with that thought came a plan, a risky, dangerous plan that would test the very limits of his courage, his resolve, and his faith in humanity. He would pretend to be poor. He would shed the layers of opulence, his designer suits, his chauffeured cars, his private jets. He would just be Maxwell, stripped bare, raw and vulnerable. The following days were a blur of activity as Maxwell set his plan in motion. He sold off most of his assets, placing them in a trust to be managed by a team of professionals. He kept a small apartment in a modest neighborhood, moving out of his luxurious mansion. He took a leave of absence from his company, handing the reins to a trusted executive. He erased his online presence, shutting down his social media accounts and disappearing from public view. He bought a second-hand car, a nondescript sedan that blended seamlessly into the urban landscape. He changed his phone number, disconnecting from his old life. When his friends and colleagues reached out, their calls went straight to voicemail. When the media tried to contact him, they got a recording of a disconnected number. He vanished from their midst, leaving behind the life he once led, the life that had become his prison. And in his place was a man named Max, a regular guy trying to navigate the complexities of everyday life. He found a job at a local cafe, the daily grind of making coffee and serving customers grounding him in a reality he had long forgotten. He rented a modest apartment, its walls bare, its rooms echoing with the silence of solitude. He started going by Max instead of Maxwell, the name change symbolizing the shedding of his former self. He missed his old life sometimes, the comfort, the convenience, the ease of his previous existence. But the alternative was an eternity of solitude, a life devoid of genuine connection, and that was a fate worse than any struggle he could face. Months turned into a year, and Max found a strange solace in his anonymity. He reveled in the normalcy of his routine, the laughter of customers, the chatter of colleagues, the camaraderie of newfound friends. He savored these moments, realizing their value, their importance in the tapestry of life. He helped out at the cafe during the busy rush hours, steamed milk to perfection, creating latte art that brought smiles to people's faces. He listened to customers' stories, their joys, their sorrows, their dreams, their struggles. He was there for them, offering a listening ear, a helping hand, a shoulder to lean on. And then one day she walked into the cafe, Amelia Hayes, a whirlwind of energy and enthusiasm. She was beautiful, yes, but it wasn't just her looks that drew Max in. It was her spirit, her kindness, her genuineness. She was unlike anyone he had ever known, and he was captivated by her. They started talking, just casual conversations initially, about books, about movies, about life. And as the weeks went by, those conversations deepened. He learned about her dreams, her aspirations, her fears, and her hopes. And she, in turn, listened intently to his stories, his experiences, his thoughts, and his feelings. There was no pretense between them, no facade. They were just two people sharing their lives, their hearts. One rainy afternoon, they decided to grab coffee, just the two of them. It wasn't a date, not officially, but there was a definite spark between them, a chemistry that crackled in the air. Over steaming mugs of coffee, they talked for hours, the rain providing a soothing backdrop to their growing connection. Max found himself opening up to her, revealing bits of his past, sharing snippets of his journey, careful not to reveal too much, not yet anyway. And Amelia listened, not with pity or scorn, but with understanding and empathy. As the months rolled on, their bond deepened. They explored the city together, holding hands, sharing secrets, laughing, dreaming. Max felt alive again, his heart beating with a rhythm it hadn't known in years. He was falling in love, deeply, passionately, and he was terrified. He had buried his heart deep within him, afraid to let anyone in, afraid to risk it all on a feeling that could lead to nothing but pain. But with Amelia, it was different. He couldn't deny his feelings, couldn't ignore the yearning in his soul. One evening, as the city lights twinkled outside their window, he finally confessed his love for her. It was a torrent of emotions, words tumbling out of him, confessing his feelings, revealing his past. And Amelia, when she heard his confession, didn't recoil, she didn't mock him. She understood. She had seen glimpses of his sadness, his longing, his internal struggles, and she had loved him through it all. The revelation of his true identity sent shock waves through their modest world. But it didn't change what they had. Their love story didn't begin with his wealth. It started in a small cafe, nurtured over cups of coffee and shared dreams. The love they had built was strong, resilient. It had weathered the storms of secrecy and emerged even stronger. And so, Max, the man who had once been known as Maxwell Sinclair, billionaire, decided to embrace both parts of his life. He reclaimed his identity, not out of a sense of pride or arrogance, but to honor the love he shared with Amelia. He was Max, the man in love, and he was Maxwell Sinclair, the successful businessman. And somehow, miraculously, they all fit together.